Hello, welcome back to Boolean ON and LIVENODING. In this episode, I'll be showing you how to use switch node of geometry node. So let's get started. So we can use monkey head, and switch node is actually really quite simple to use. So if we have this monkey head and we create a switch node, we can see we can switch between two values, and it's going to be controlled using this switch on and off. So if it's on, it's gonna select the value B. If it's off, it's gonna select value A. So for example, for this monkey head, for example, we can use transform, and we can scale using the switch. So this is the geometry coming in. This is geometry coming out. We can switch between the two values. So this is on and off. And that's for the float value. We can also have like vector, integer, boolean, even color. What's really interesting, maybe like geometry or collections or object. So for example, geometry, we can pipe in the first geometry into the A, and second geometry can be, for example, we don't have torus yet, so we just use a cylinder. So now I'm piping between original geometry, which is monkey head, or second geometry, which is a cylinder. So I can turn that on and off. And this switch can be piped out into the attribute of geometry nodes. So we have now switch on and off. It's a Boolean, basically. So we can have multiple Suzanne head. We can switch between the value. Yeah, and so let's save this very quickly. This is switch demo. That's if we have like only two values, but even with just two, it's actually pretty cool already. For example, let's delete everything. I'm gonna use this Suzanne as an instance to use with animation nodes. Okay, this is pretty basic, but still pretty interesting. So we want to distribute the grid of objects, and we're gonna use instance objects of Suzanne with geometry nodes. So it's quite something there. Object matrix output. The matrix is just the transform, right? So we can transform Suzanne. Now we have like 9 Suzanne because of the grid. We can control this. Suzanne in the middle is the instance, the original Suzanne, and the rest is just a clone. So that each of the clone have switch. So we can switch the value, and for that we can use attribute output. So we can have multiple value, and the value that we want to control is this switch. Just right click and copy full data path or copy data path. Anyway, just copy paste. This is the objects, and we just need the modifier. Now everything becomes cylinder, so we can have a random number. How many objects? We have 16. Okay, 16 objects. And the value, if we use viewer, you can see that's the value. We want this to be maybe integer, but I guess it doesn't matter for now. Yeah, random integer, okay. I think we can just use this value into that guy. Okay, it doesn't work. Random boolean. All right, this is more correct. Random boolean pipe into the values. We want 16 values. Now we can randomize each of the instance. Okay, so Suzanne and the cylinder, or we can we can come back to the original Suzanne over here, geometry nodes. Instead of using Suzanne, maybe use between box and sphere. So we can switch between the two. Maybe 8. Okay. Okay, cool. Now we can come back into animation nodes and let's randomize. You can see it's working quite nicely. Let's make a 64 different switch objects. So suddenly we have this ability. And okay, with this we can do something more. That's maybe with SVerchok. Okay, we have these objects, multiple objects from animation nodes. We can use SVerchok objects in get selection, or we can actually use collection picker, get animation nodes object, and from this object we can use object ID output, mass viewer. This should be post modifier, and this I will merge it. So this is quite powerful. As you can see, the output is a single object. Okay, I forgot. We also need to use the matrix. Now this guy is single object. We can remesh. Right. So now it's becoming this. It's pretty cool. Now if we go back to animation nodes, we can randomize. And this needs to be updated. The timeline needs to be running after we make changes. So if I just run the playback and then change the seed, now we have this random object generator using the combinations of geometry nodes, animation nodes, and SVerchok. SVerchok just merging everything. Animation nodes is doing the instancing and randomizing the switch, while the original Suzanne is, just a switcher between cube and UV sphere. You can always replace it with other things, cylinder, icosphere, you name it. It doesn't have torus yet. Alright, so yeah, so that's pretty simple example. Hopefully you find this useful. With the switch, we can actually make multiple switch if you want to do that. I gotta show you one more thing. Okay, if we use greater than or equal, so this is for the first. Okay, you can see a single geometry nodes can handle multiple switch objects. So cube, so either it's a box or a cone or a cylinder because of this setup. So it's using this logic, compare the value, float compare, and I'm switching between one object or the other using this greater than or equal. So you can have this as well. So if I believe we can just bring it here and paste it. So here, this is a switcher. Oops. Yeah. So this guy is special it can switch between 3 different objects. So with this setup, we can simply replace the instance object into the new objects, the cube. And we can use random number between 0 and 3. And this value, copy full data path, paste. Right, we have 3 different objects kind of merging together. We can randomize it. I think it's pretty cool, even though it's really simple, just switching the values and instancing. We can have this increase the detail, or actually just adaptive. Look how cool is this. Use different seed, update, different seed, update. Alright, so okay, that's pretty much it for this live coding. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.